जय जय श्री राधे श्री वल्लभाधीश की जय Sabhi Vaishnav ko Jai Shri Krishna. Today is the 49th day of the readings of the 84 Vaishnava disciples of Sri Vallabhacharya, their stories and tales. So Varta 36, the story of Uttam Slok Das, a Sanchora Brahmin from Godhra, Part 1. Uttam Slok Das was the cook for Srinathji's servants. He served up prasad to all of them most lovingly. They all used to call him their mother. He felt very close to all the servants as if they were his own. Sri Gosaiji was very happy with him. Uttam Slok Das and Ishwara Dubey were Sri Chandravali's Sakhis in the eternal Leela. They had very pure natures. They used to lovingly feed Sri Chandravali ji and all her Sakhis. One time Sri Chandravali ji brought Sri Thakurji and Sri Swamini ji to her Nikunj. She was feeding them both very lovingly. These two Sakhis, becoming a little proud, thought that instead of feeding all the Sakhis, they too would like to serve Sri Thakurji and Sri Swamini ji. They had not asked Sri Chandravali ji, but picked up another plate of offerings. Sri Chandravali ji saw them and asked where they were going, to which they haughtily replied, "Why, can we not also serve the Lord?" Sri Chandravali ji vituperated them sharply, telling them that there was no use for people who had pride there, and that they would fall now to earth. On earth they were born and reborn many times. In the Leela their names had been Sushila and Mena. Sushila became Uttam Slok Das and Mena became Ishwara Dubey. They were both born into Sanchora Brahmin families in Godhra in Gujarat. They both worked as cooks for one man of the artisan caste. That artisan then moved to Agra to work for the local ruler, and these two went with him. At that time, Sri Acharyaji had come to Agra. One day he was sitting on Rajghat performing his evening prayers. Uttam Slok and Ishwara Dubey had also come there at that time to bathe in the Sri Yamunaji river. When Sri Acharyaji had completed his prayers, he spoke thus to Krishnadas: "Brahmins should never work for lower caste people. The other way round is appropriate. This is written in the Srimad Bhagavatam." When they heard this, Uttam Slok Das and Ishwara Dubey approached Sri Acharyaji and said, "Oh Maharaj, what you say is correct, but we need to work to feed ourselves and our families. So what to do? We have no other qualifications. We are not educated. That is why we cook for this low caste men." Sri Acharyaji replied, "I was talking to my disciples, not to you. The Lord provides for everyone. You should trust the Lord only." Hearing this, the two of them made this supplication: "You speak with all the authorities of the scriptures, but we are who we are. Please take us and let us serve you instead. We will do whatever you tell us and no longer work for our boss." Sri Acharyaji then interjected that they were Brahmins and therefore worthy, and asked them, "Why would you want to become disciples?" The two answered, "Oh Maharaj, we are Brahmins, but what use is that? We don't know how to live the proper life of a Brahmin. Please therefore bless us and let us take shelter in you. Maybe then our intelligence would be purified." Sri Vallabhacharya called them both forward and initiated them with the Lord's name and Brahma Sambandh. The two of them asked what they should do next, saying that they would do whatever they were told. He told them to go home to their village, and after taking leave of their parents, to travel to the Sri Govardhan mountain. There you can serve Sri Krishna, the upholder of the Sri Giriraji mountain. Both of them went to the artisan boss and resigned from their jobs and collected the wages owing to them. Their boss tried to persuade them to stay, offering them a pay rise, but they were not interested. They soon reached their homes in Godhra. They asked permission of their parents to go to Vraja. The parents asked them to wait for a few days when they would also go to Vraja. The parents' plan, though, was to keep the boys there with them. A whole year passed, and the two again went to their parents and asked them if they would now come, for a whole year had passed. They said they would come very soon, but in this way 5 years went by. Then Uttama Shloka one day just got up and left for Vraj without telling anyone at all. When he arrived there, he went to have the recite of Srinathji and paid his respects to Sri Gosaiji, to whom he told the entire story. Sri Gosaiji engaged him in the kitchen service of Sri Krishna, the upholder of the Sri Giriraj mountain. He would serve prasad very lovingly to all the serving workmen there. They too soon all began to address him as mother. Thus, Uttama Slok Das was an accomplished and a full recipient of Sri Acharyaji's grace. Thus concludes Varta 36, the story of Uttam Shlok, Sanchora Brahmin from Godara, although there is truly no end to his story. We continue today with Varta 37, the story of Ishwara Dubey, a Sanchora Brahmin from Godara. Bhav Prakash. Ishwara Dubeyji's Leela form and how he came to be serving in Agra has all been told in the previous Varta. After Uttam Shlok Das came home, Ishwara Dubey's parents died after another 6 months. Ishwara Dubey came to Sri Giriraji and had the sight of Srinathji. He bowed to Sri Gosaiji and told him his whole story, how he and Uttam Shlok Das had been initiated together, and that Sri Acharyaji had then ordered them to serve Srinathji. Please guide me as to what to do now, he asked. Sri Gosaiji told him that Uttam Shlok Das was serving by cooking and giving prasad to the other temple servants. He told them to get together quickly and continue to serve together. Part 1. Not long after Uttam Shlok Das left his body, Sri Gosaiji then began to call Ishwara Dubey Uttam Shlok Das. With this name he cooked and fed all the temple servants. He used to pay for extra ghee for them all out of his own savings. Bhav Prakash. It is not a proper seva to pay for something like this with one's wages, especially if one works in the temple. One should pay out of one's own savings. This is what Uttam Shlok Das was doing. The reason for adding more ghee into the preparations is that ghee brings strength to the whole body, which makes it conducive to better serving the Lord. Part 1 continued. For this reason, all the other servants called him affectionately as mother. One Vaishnava told Sri Gosaiji this, and he immediately called Uttam Shlok Das to him and, extremely pleased, asked him why he used his savings to give them all extra ghee. Everyone gets paid after all. Uttam Shlok Das told him that all the servants put a lot of effort into serving the Lord, especially climbing up and down the mountain. Sri Thakurji feels sad as a result. So by adding extra ghee, they became stronger and served better. Sri Gosaiji was very pleased to hear this and see to his compassion for his fellow servants. Sri Gosaiji called to Uttam Shlok Das and said that he should ask him for some kind of boon because he was so pleased with him. Uttam Shlok Das asked the boon that he might never become displeased with Sri Gosaiji. Sri Gosaiji conceded. Everyone who heard this thought it was a very strange request. So what if a jiva became pleased or displeased? One Vaishnava asked Sri Gosaiji what he had requested. Was it to always be pleased with him? Sri Gosaiji told them all to go and ask him himself to tell them. They did just this. Why did you ask Sri Gosaiji that you should always be happy? Uttama Shlok replied, look, Sri Gosaiji is happy right now, but what if I made mistakes in the seva and he became unhappy? If I found this out, I too would be unhappy, and I would not be able to focus on my seva. The Vaishnavas were very gratified to hear this. Sri Gosaiji announced to all the Vaishnavas that Uttama Shlok Das's request was of a very high level of devotion. Now he can never be disturbed. Thus Uttam Shlok Das was a very accomplished Vaishnava. He saw Sri Thakurji, Sri Acharyaji, Sri Gosaiji, their servants and the Vaishnavas with one equal loving mood. Thus concludes Varta 37, the story of Ishwara Dubey, a Sanchora Brahmin, although in truth there is no end to his story. And here concludes Varta 37. We continue tomorrow with Varta 38. So Aaj ke Anand ki jai, Shri Vallabhadesh ki jai, Shri Giriraj Dharan ki jai, Shri Vrajabhumi ki jai ho. Sabhi Vaishnavan ko hardik सादर और सप्रेम जय श्री कृष्ण जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे।